Hey, everybody. This is Kinsey with Accelerated Automation, and I'm speaking with Andrew Filar right now. Andrew, welcome. Yeah, absolutely. I came across Andrew online and just wanted to kind of share what he does with you guys because I think it would be super, super beneficial for really any agent. So, Andrew, I'm just going to go ahead and pass it off to you so you can explain about your company and take it away.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, Kenzie, to share this with with your group and your network. And I know what you've built at agency automation is incredible. So, just a little bit about me. I know you and I have talked about it before, but just for the people who are potentially watching this, I am an Allstate agent, but I started consulting, and I work with independent agents, farmers agents, Allstate agents, State Farm agents, and I got my start about 10 years ago in the insurance industry, worked as a producer on commercial for a couple years, cold calling. Absolutely hated it. It sucked, but taught me a lot of great things about outbound calling. I then moved over to, the largest Allstate agency in the country, where I overhauled their sales process from an inbound process to an outbound process using outbound dialing and leads. And then about 5 years ago, I opened my agency under the Allstate umbrella, scratch, out of Atlanta. And, as of last month, we're 5 years and 3 months in, we just hit 34 million in premium. And so most of that has been driven organically through outbound calling and through, buying a lot of leads. And so I thought to myself, I said, how can I help other agents do something similar? And what am I uniquely good at? And what I really landed on was that we're great at data analytics and we're great at outbound calling and prospecting. And so my thought was that, why don't I start a service to help people do this in a smarter way, in a way that they could do it as if they had scale, even if they don't have scale. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. So, really what we do is, my company is called Next Call Club. You can find it if you go to my Facebook profile or my LinkedIn profile. I'm super active on LinkedIn, not as active on Facebook, but I am there probably daily. But I post on LinkedIn every single day. And then I also have a newsletter where I break down how the agency is growing. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to show people how we're growing so other people can, hopefully take ideas and thoughts from that. And, transparently, what that does is it shows people the way that I think or the way that I operate. And then ideally, people say, wow, Andrew works this way. I'd love to work with Andrew through Next Call Club. And so what we do is, we're a business services company, and we really do three main things. We do one-to-one agency consulting, and typically the type of agent that we work with on one-to-one consulting basis, it's month to month, but it is ongoing. And it's somebody who's maybe at that 5 to 7 million size, who's trying to get to 15, 20, 25, or 30. And they want to scale, but they need to reorg a little bit. They need to get their finances, lined up a little bit differently to be in a place to grow. So that's one of the things that we do. The main service that we do is our outbound calling as a service. And so a lot of people refer to these people as telemarketers. I don't refer to people as telemarketers. I refer to them as a sales development representative. And there's a couple reasons for that. One is because nobody aspires to be a telemarketer. I don't know anybody who says, I want to be a telemarketer. There's a negative connotation with the idea of a telemarketer. And so that's the first reason we don't call them a telemarketer. The second reason is that sales development representative or business development representative is more of an industry standard term for people who are basically appointment setters in the tech industry, especially in SaaS. And so a lot of people want to get into SaaS sales. It's incredibly hard to break into. And so when we post this job, we pay a great wage. We let them work from home, and we're teaching them how to prospect. And as a result, we get a better quality candidate than we might get if we just said they're a telemarketer. And so what we do is we have a full turnkey service for agents. And what we do is we go out, we recruit them, we hire them, we equip them, we onboard them, we train them, and then we deliver them basically to you. We manage them day to day. And basically all you do is you pay a monthly fee and your phone rings. And so our value proposition is this, is that we want to get your cost per transfer, cost per live client that you have on the phone between $20 and $25. And each caller that we bring in for your agency is expected to get 15 to 20 transfers per day. And the way that we do that is through a combination of using CRMs such as Agency Zoom or QQ Catalyst or Ricochet or Easy Links or any of these other systems, right? We can use a lot of different systems. We definitely have preferred systems that are easier to use. Agency Zoom's a great one. We're actually in there as a vendor automatically, so it's super easy to set up. Kenzie and her team, if you've already worked with them, it's really out of the box. It's super quick, super easy. And we try to make it so there's very little lifting for the agent themselves. We want to make it as easy and convenient as it can be. And that leads into the third thing that we do, which feeds the callers, is our lead buying service. And so we've built our agency by buying, $40, $50, $60,000 worth of leads per month to feed 8, 12, 15, 17 producers that we have in our agency. And when we first started in buying insurance leads, we were paying, $12, $14, $16, right? And I was just like, God, it's just so expensive. Like, there's got to be a better way. And, as we started to buy more, we were able to negotiate better prices. Now we were maybe in like the $7 or the $9 range. But as the price came down, the flexibility went down with it. And that was frustrating for us as well, because, you could pay $15 or $16 for a lead that's filtered exactly what you want, or you could pay $7 to $9, for, very minimal filters. And so as we continued to grow, we continued to spend more and more. And basically we were able to work out some relationships with our vendors and then added vendors over time to where we were able to use technology to basically better target and buy leads. So we decided, hey, we've got all this technology, and these pieces of technology that we have can verify that the person who's shopping is actually shopping. They can verify that they actually opted in to getting a phone call or a text. You're not getting TCPA violations. We can see how long did they spend on the form? How many agents have this? We can look against database and say, how likely is this phone number, email, and address the actual person who put in the lead? We can say, is this person somebody who's a known litigator or is on the national do not call list, right? And so this technology that we have to help us buy leads probably costs, $30, $40, $50,000 a month. And for the average agent, and even us included, that's an incredible amount of money. And so what we basically said is like, how can we help other agents access this technology without having to spend all of that money on what they do? And that's where our lead buying service started. And so what we always tell people with the lead buying service is we work with 20 plus vendors, and a lot of the big names that you might know, such as like the EverQuotes, the Smart Financials, the Quote Wizards. We work with all of them, and then a bunch of small niche carriers as well that do leads. And we'll do all of the targeting, all the pricing, all of the optimization over time. We'll give you analytics on the back end, not only for the leads we help you procure, but the leads that you're procuring on your own. And then we'll teach you also how to optimize the leads with your providers. And we say, look, if you have a question for your lead provider and we're not helping you with that, just CC us and we're here for you. So those are the three things we do: one-to-one agency consulting, outbound callers as a turnkey solution, and then a lead buying service where the goal is to get you better leads at a better price. And so
Nice.
So those are the three things we do. And I can show a few visual aids to kind of give some context of, what it costs or what the ROI looks like, if that sounds like a plan to you, Kenzie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see it.
Okay. So
I think it's so important too, because so many people are struggling right now with rate increases, and they're most of the agents I talk to feel like they just can't keep their head above water with their book of business, much less trying to spend time going out and finding new business. So I think it's awesome that you have a service like this to help them with that.
Absolutely. And I think in the environment that we're into, I think most carriers, whether you're a farmer's agent, you're an independent with a bunch of carriers, like RMPs are changing, companies are closing, territories are closing, and it can be really hard from a targeting perspective to lock that in. And that's one of the benefits of using leads is, yes, you have to call them, which we can help you with. But the ability is you can get very granular on the targeting. And like an example of that is, a lot of states across multiple carriers can't write Kias or Hyundais right now because they have that theft issue, where a lot of lead providers say, well, we can't filter those out for you, but we can. Like we can do that. And a lot of our clients, we make sure there's no Kias or Hyundais, right? And if somebody needs a home that's built in the last 17 years, like we can do that, right? So to your point, it is really tough out there, and targeting is really hard. And the days of casting a super wide net and it just kind of working, those are behind us, and they'll come back. But right now it's definitely a little bit tough.
100%. So yeah, show us what you got.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing I will do is I will share my screen. Oh, let me change my system preferences. Let's see here. Okay. Kenzie, it's going to make me quit and reopen. So not sure what you want to do here on that.
How about you tell me I can share my screen
Yeah.
and you tell me where to go?
Why don't
Would
I
that
do
work?
this? Yep. And I will send you this email, or I'll send you this spreadsheet here, and then we can
Okay.
walk through it together.
All right.
Let's do this. Editor. Okay. I
We're
will
probably
send.
like, God, she's got a lot of tabs open on her.
Oh,
I mean,
you
the
should see
images
mine,
on
Kenzie.
mine's terrible. Half of the time it's screenshots and stuff I just haven't moved over.
Oh, yeah, I know. I had to change my screenshots from my desktop to a folder because it was. So I just sent it to you on Facebook if that works, and then
Yeah.
we can walk through it together.
Let's see. Give me just a second. Here we go. I'm just going to move this screen over here.
Awesome. Perfect.
There we go.
Okay. So if you just scroll down just a little bit, we can get it all in frame.
Okay, let me expand it.
And I can also create like a Loom video as well, if kind of walking through this if I need to. But basically, I'll walk through this, and I've got this down to where I can get through this in 3 to 4 minutes. But I'll try to talk kind of slow. So over on the left-hand side, you'll be able to see all those yellow or goldish fields. I'm colorblind, so I'm not really sure what color that actually is. Maybe like a creamish or something. I'm not sure. But those are the inputs, right? So if you change those inputs, it's going to change everything over in the what you get in the cost section. And so this is pure scenario analysis. So what we are looking at is we're looking at this program in isolation. What do you give up, AKA your cost, versus what do you get, AKA your revenue or your transfer, so on and so forth. And so this model is super scalable, right? Like we have 6 callers for our agency at any given time, and that feeds, 18 or so producers. And generally, we always tell people, if you want to do a caller, you want to have 3 people who can take transfers. Otherwise, it's probably overkill. 3 licensed sales reps to 1 caller tends to work really, really well. And so over here on the left, we'll see number of TM equals 1, right? And then we pay people a $17 an hour wage. We lease these people back to the agent. And so that is a pass through, but taxes and benefits usually end up being about $3.50. We do try to avoid the high tax states, but we don't want to be discriminatory in any way. So our goal is to find talent. It's remote work, and we're going to find people who are great, because at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. Where they're going to work 40 hours per week. And then they get a daily bonus. So when they hit their goal, they get their bonus daily. That's paid out once per month, but every day is a new day. And so when you're in a role such as an outbound caller, you don't want to have a bad day or 2 bad days and fall behind on your monthly goal and get to a point where you can't make that up and you get demotivated. So the idea is, how can we give this team a dopamine hit every single day if they hit their goal, right? So daily bonus of 15. And then as they hit various levels of transfer, so if they hit 15 transfers in a day, they get a $15 bonus. If they hit 20, that goes to 25. If they go to 25, it goes to 45. And it goes up and up and up. But the best part about it is every additional transfer that person gets per day actually makes your cost per transfer lower, even though they are getting a higher bonus. And that's because they're spreading the fixed cost out across the entire, month. So we're going to expect them to hit their goal about 80% of the days. Good days happen, bad days happen. We've seen Mondays, sometimes people get 22, 25 transfers. Sometimes on a Friday, it's a little slow, 12 transfers. But on average, let's call it 15 transfers per day, 21 days in a month. And then our cost per caller is $1,250 per month. Okay. So normally we're charging $1,500 or $1,750, but for this case, right, through your referral code, we'll do $1,250 per month. 15 transfers per day is what we really expect out of them. And if they're not hitting 15 transfers per day, they're not really cutting it. And it means either they're not doing it the right way, they're not following what we're teaching them to do, or we need to dig into your system and figure out, is your cadence needing some adjustment? Are you showing up as spam? Is it the targeting or the leads that you're calling? And so part of this is about having the SDR as a service, but there's also a method of consulting around this as well. Premium per item, right? I put $850 in here. So I know people who are like in Texas or in some of like the kind of tornado alley states that can be over $1,000. $850 is kind of, I think, a fair number. And then what we're going to do for an item close rate is around 20%. And so I can share this spreadsheet if people want to play with it again. But basically what item close rate means is if you do 10 quotes, if you quote 10 lines, how many items do you expect to get? And so say you quoted 5 homes and 5 auto policies. Do you reasonably expect to get, 1 auto and 1 home? Probably. So 20%. Commission rate, I did 22%. When I work with farmers agents, that's typically what they like me to illustrate, so I know there's the base comp, the variable comp, and then you can get you can double it. So most people who are using this program say they're safely at that 22%. So that's what we're going to illustrate. And then we will illustrate a $6 cost per lead that we would procure for you. We expect that each caller gets about 20 leads per day. And if they get 20 leads per day, they can get 15 transfers pretty safely. Now, people always ask me the question of like, well, how do you get 15 transfers off of 20 leads? And I think it's a fair question. But the reality is we're going to call those leads for 90 days. And so the idea is think of it like a snowball. Day one, you buy 20 leads. Maybe you get 7 transferred. Maybe a couple are bad, 7 transfers, there's 10 left in the bucket. Well, the next day you buy 20 more. Well, now they have 30 to call. Same thing. And that snowball gets bigger and bigger over 90 days. And so, the first couple weeks, can be a little bit slow if you're not currently doing leads. But if you've already been doing leads, we tap them right in and they just hit the ground running. And so let's go over to the costs and the benefits, right? Over on the right-hand side.
Let me ask you something really quick. One stat that I came across that I share with agents a lot is that 87% of consumers in the insurance space year after year make their purchase decisions based on the first 10 experiences that they have with your company, which I found really fascinating. And so one point that I think, adding to your point about it being over a 90-day period, is I'm sure you guys have perfected the best practices as far as calling people and not being offensive and getting spammed and all those things, or you wouldn't be in business. So talk a little bit about that. Happy
to do that. Yeah. So we have a cadence that we give to all of our clients, and we tell people you don't have to use it. But if your numbers aren't there, we ask you that you do use it. And part of the reason for that is because we're actually significantly less aggressive than a lot of other people are. And so what we have kind of heard from a lot of other people who do internet leads and outbound calling is that they'll be like, you got to call them 10 times in the first day or 10 times in the first 2 days. And I try to put myself in the seat of the consumer. I just think about that to me, what an awful experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just such an awful experience. And then not to mention, I think something like 8 or 9 states now, I haven't looked at it this month, have their own TCPA laws. Like if you're in Oklahoma or if you're in California, if you're in Florida, you can't call somebody more than 3 times in 24 hours, or you can have major TCPA violations. And so people who are calling 10 times in 1 day or 2 days are probably out of compliance with TCPA, and they're exposing themselves to unnecessary risk. And that's just phone calls. That doesn't even count the text messages that are going out. And so what I try to think about is what is the best way to engage with a client in a way where you feel like you're putting what they want and what their needs are first, not what I want or what I need as the salesperson. And so our cadence is a lot less aggressive. We call no more than 3 times the first day, sometimes twice, a couple, maybe 2 times the second day, and then once the third day. And then we actually cool them off for 3 to 4 days. And the reason that we do that is because I can't tell you how many times we've seen just from buying leads over the last 10 years, like we'll see somebody go out, they'll shop and they'll get a lead. You call them 3, 4, 5 times, you never get a hold of them. And then about 15 days later, that lead comes back in, same consumer, maybe from a different lead company. And I think as agents, our first initial thought is, oh man, this is a duplicate. This is a BS lead. I just bought this lead 15 days ago. Well, I have, technology through Journaya that shows that those were actually 2 separate events. And so I remember seeing that after we got this technology, and I remember just calling a consumer and just being like, hey, you know what? I actually don't have a pitch for you at all, but I'm just really curious. We got your information 15 days ago and then it popped back up today. Like what happened? And basically what they told me, and I've heard this from a lot of consumers that I've talked to, is they said, look, like I put it in, I got like 12, 13 phone calls on the first day. And I just got so frustrated, I just turned my phone off, or I just stopped answering anything. And so this idea is, how can we make contact with them in a way that we're showing them, hey, we're here to help you buy on your terms and do it your way. So, right, we're a little bit less aggressive. I am a huge fan of texting if that's allowed. As an Allstate agent, I cannot do that. It's, not compliant for me, but for farmers agents, it is. For independent agents, it is. And there's a way to say, hey, look, this is all I need to finish this up. And hey, is there a good time to talk? Or are you down to talk? Right. And so there's all these different ways to do it. But yes, to your point, Kenzie, I think it's really, really important what you bring up is that I think that people who are overly aggressive are actually hurting themselves. And I think
100%.
And same thing with cycling numbers, right? Like people cycle numbers a lot because if they make too many calls, they get flagged as spam. But if you call somebody 5 times from 5 different numbers, do they realize that's you, or do they think 5 different people are calling them? And then they answer the phone and they say, I've been called by 20 different people, because 2 or 3 agents have that lead and 2 or 3 agents are calling 5 times on 5 different numbers. That people just get a bad taste in their mouth and they just shut down and do nothing. And so I think it's really important what you've talked about. And I think those first 10 touch points, is that some people are burning those first 10 touch points in the first day.
Exactly. And that's kind of where the automation can partner up, because, Mariah builds automation and ours is built around the lead source. And so the more specific you are in targeting that lead, the better results you're going to have. If you're trying to, say it's from a referral partner, you don't want it to sound like it's an internet lead, so it's just different language for different types of leads. And I think partnering with your like a company like yours and yours specifically is really the difference maker when it comes to taking a lead, instead of depending on your own agents to go on their knowledge of not even following best practices. They're hungry for that sale, so they're going to wear out that lead initially. But across the country, on average, it's 18 touches for a personal line lead to close. And it's because it takes time. So I love that you consider that when you're reaching out to folks. But go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
I think it's great. I could talk about this for hours. And I think one just thing is like the way you treat a lead who's age 70 to 80 is different than you treat a lead that's age 25 to 35, right? And the way of somebody who filled out a form on their computer might be different than the way you fill out someone who filled out a form on this thing, this cell phone. So I think there's a lot of different aspects of how you target and how you do it. But yeah, so glad you asked that question. Like I said, I could talk about that for hours, but just to kind of wrap it up, on this sheet here is like, if we look at these costs, it's about $7,300 per month for the all in. What you're really paying us for is that coaching, that $1,250. And then as we procure the leads, we take a fee of $2 per lead. About half of that is profit for us. I want to be transparent about that. But that $6 cost per lead is all in. That's after our fee. And so we make money on the coaching and on procuring of the leads. The wage, the bonus, and the taxes and benefits are all a pass through. And I think that's one thing that makes us very different than a lot of other companies is a lot of people are going out there, they're hiring somebody maybe offshore or nearshore at $5 or $7 an hour and charging the agent $12 or $15 an hour and taking a margin there. We're not doing any of that. We're just passing that through. And then I think the other thing on the lead, buying service is a lot of people who do something similar. They're really more like a reseller. They'll buy a lead and then resell that lead 3 or 4 times. That's 100%. Not what we do. What we're doing is we're basically bridging the gap between the agent and the lead company. And we're saying for the lead company, we're kind of like an outsourced account manager. And for the agent, we're a consultant and an analyst. And by having a flat rate per lead, it's in our best interest to get your cost per lead down. Because if you have a set budget and your cost per lead is lower, you'll buy more leads, you make more money, we make more money, as opposed to a reseller who oftentimes takes a percentage. So it's in their best interest to sell it at a higher rate, and they're better aligned with the lead company. And so we really do try to position ourselves differently in that way, and then also provide just a lot of advice and guidance along the way. And so $7,300 is really the all-in cost. About half of that goes to us. The other half is just a pass through to the employee. And then in terms of what you get, right? So let's just kind of show how this math works. Like additional quotes per day, 15 transfers, where you're quoting 2 lines, 70% of the time is an additional 26 quotes per day. At 21 days per month, that's 536 additional quotes per month. At a 20% item close, that's 107 additional items or policies, depending how your company counts it. At a 850 premium per item, that's 91,000 in additional written premium. At a 22% commission rate, you're looking at 20,000 in revenue. Subtract that 7,000 in cost, you're left with 12,000 in profit. an ROI of 175%, and a cost per item at $68. That's on your team to close, right? And what you're really hiring us for are those last three boxes, that cost per transfer and those total transfers per day and per month. $23 cost per transfer, 15 a day, 315 per month. And that's what we really expect out of a caller. But Kenzie, do me a favor. And if you go into transfers per day and mark it at 20, watch what happens to that cost per transfer.
Let's see.
Item. So it's going to be cell B19.
Oh, there we go.
And just make that 20. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.
So you can see that cost per transfer dropped from $23 to $17. Cost per item went from 68 to 51. Okay. And so this is how the bonus changes too. So we're at 1739. Let's go to cell B13 and change that daily bonus to $25. Because now they've hit 20, they're going to get a higher tier. Cost per transfer only goes up 40 cents, even though we're paying them more, right? So everybody wins. And now you can see the ROI is 257%. And then the other question I get is, where's my break even? Right? That's another question I get. So if we go back to B19, put in 8 transfers per day. Okay, I think that's good. I think break even might actually be like 6. If you were to go to 6, ROI would be probably okay. So 6 is where it is, but here's why I don't like to use 6. So if you see that cost per transfer at $59.29 in cell E25, at that point, my advice to the agent would be is if we're going to get 6 transfers per day, you're better off just going to a live transfer company and buying directly, because you can probably get it for 50 or 55, and then you have a pause button. So I usually illustrate 8 transfers per day as the break even, because that puts your cost per transfer about $45. And I don't want to think of like, what's your ROI break even? I want to think, what is the break even if you were to substitute away to a live transfer company? So that's a little bit about what we do. And, we have probably 20 agents using our outbound caller service, probably another 20 to 30 agents using our lead buying service. And what I'll say, Kenzie, is like, we have not really advertised this year. Like our goal has been, let's work with agents who want to grow. And we're just kind of starting to get out there and really share our name. And it's all been referral based, and that's been amazing. But if somebody wants to work with us, we would love to talk to you about how we can help you with leads, how we can help you with callers, how we can help you scale. Any of it or all the above. And what I would also say is that if anybody just wants to pick my brain or just wants to chat, I'm more than happy to do that as well. I promise it won't be a hard pitch. I might kind of like bring it up, but if you're not interested, I won't hard pitch you. I've gotten a lot of help in my career, and I'm trying to pay that forward as much as I possibly can.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Andrew. I love what you're doing. I think it's going to benefit a lot of people that choose to go in this direction. How can people get in touch with you?
So a couple ways you can find me, right? You can go to the website, which is www.nextcallclub.com. Super, super simple. There should be a inquiry form right there. I'm happy to break down analytics on the leads themselves and show how we target. We can do some really interesting things. I think about how we look at things and we say, look, maybe there's a way we need to target somebody with great credit, or maybe we want to target only the best cities, or hey, you know what? Maybe we know that somebody who has 3 cars in State Farm is a really good prospect for us. Guess what? We can target that for you. We can find that for you. There might not be a lot of that out there, but we can find what is out there. And so if you go to our website, you can say, I'm interested, or there's an inquiry form if you go to contact. Another way is you can find me on Facebook. I've got 2 of them. One is my old one that I don't use anymore. The one you want is the ones with the mountains behind me. And then LinkedIn is another way. On both of those pages, there's a link to my newsletter. I've probably done 10 or 12 issues. I do it every other Friday. And I really just try to break down how we're growing our agency, and I try to be as transparent as I possibly can. So if you're curious more about the way I operate, that's a great place to start. So that's how you can find me: LinkedIn, Facebook, the website, and and then of course I'm in the group as well. And so I'll try to continue to be active there and continue to build relationships and help where I can.
Awesome. Yeah, we've got the insurance automation group, so you can always just tag him and ask a question if you have more questions. But thank you so much, Andrew. I really
Kenzie.
Appreciate all of your insight, and hopefully we can get some good agents sent your way.
Absolutely. And Kenzie, I'll send you over, a copy of this spreadsheet if you want to include it, along with 1 or 2 case studies if people want to learn more, and then we can go from there.
Awesome. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so much. I'm going to stop the record.
Awesome.
We sure do appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Kenzie.